Hello, everybody. My name is Dratnos, and while I was working on a 10.1 guide to gearing and what to do in the first few weeks, I've been sort of stumbling upon what I think is going to be a pretty bad experience that a lot of people are going to have throughout the first few months of next patch. That I wanted to actually break it out into its own video, into a classic Dratnos complainy video that try and make fairly rarely, but this one seems worthy of calling attention to. So this is about Sparks of Shadowflame. Again, if you're looking for full details on how all of the new stuff's going to work in the new expansion, I've got a lot of old videos kind of going through them one by one, and tomorrow I'm going to try and release one that sort of is like a synthesized guide for what high-level players should be doing in the first few weeks to get good gear. There's also a great Google Doc out there that I have some disagreements with, but is also very high quality. And so the Sparks of Shadowflame, the way that these work is that this is the new spark that you need if you want to get your item up to, it says 411 to 424, but then you use an optional reagent to bring it up to, all the way up to 447, actually, which is a very high level. That's the equivalent of 421 last patch, and is extremely, extremely important and powerful if you can do the content that gives you the upgrade piece, of course, for that. And the way that this is going to work out is that you will earn half of a spark of Shadowflame. So you'll earn a splintered spark of Shadowflame, which is half of one that you can combine to make a full one, and you'll earn that half once every week from either completing Malicious Horde or Sensational Niffin Treasures. Malicious Horde is like a war mode thing. Sensational Niffin Treasures is like the aiding the Accord, I believe, that from the new content. So either of those, you can earn one of these splinter. It's not like you could earn two if you do both. You earn one, and you therefore can earn a spark every 2 weeks. But there's also a tutorial quest, which awards an additional one the first week, which means that you can have your first spark on the first week, your second one on the third week, which is the second week of the raid, etc., and so on and so on. One thing that's nice about the Sparks of Shadowflame as well is that there's not going to be this get 5 and then they start RNG dropping from rares and dungeons, which I think most people don't really have a fond memory of that last patch, because you have some characters that maybe have like 3 or 4 and don't need them, and so it's not really an exciting drop. And then you have some characters that still do need them, but it's like not farmable enough that you can actually feel like it's good to just farm content to get them, like because it takes so long before you're likely to even see one of those stupid things. So that's a nice change. But the change that I don't like, and it's possible that there's a system that fixes this that they just haven't talked about, but I feel like they would have talked about one if there was something like this, is the alt slash forget a week slash returning player catch-up arc for these Sparks of Shadowflame. I think it's actually going to be really a downer later in this patch, that a lot of people are going to realize, like, oh, I'm actually in a spot where so okay, imagine this situation, right? Like, you play your main character for the first 4 weeks or something, then you're like, you know what? I want to play some Rogue, or I want to play some Evoker, or whatever. You look at your Evoker, it's sitting there in 420 gear, let's say, because it was geared from last patch, and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I'm going to pick this thing up. And then you look and you're like, hang on a second. I don't have any sparks on this thing. I could go start grinding the sparks now. I could get 1 spark by doing the Sensational Niffin Treasures and by doing that tutorial quest. But then I'm 2 more weeks, 2 resets away from my second spark. And you're looking at your main character that has 3 sparks at this point, and you're just forever going to be behind that. And also, you're going to be so far away from having all those sparks to craft your gear. So, if you're a player like me, maybe you're going to look at this and you're going to be like, okay, maybe if I want to play this alt in a few months' time, I should make sure that I'm doing the Aiding the Accord every week, the Sensational Niffin Treasures. But, like, that's not going to be particularly fun for a lot of players, especially if you only play WoW, if you only play WoW for like 20 hours a week or something like that. Do you really want to spend time in the first month making sure that your alts are going to be ready for you to play them when you play them later? Because if you don't, I feel like there's going to be a big barrier towards that desire to play. Like, there's been these things in previous patches, right? You remember Corruption Resistance, where it was just like, oh, I kind of want to play this alt. And then you look at it and you realize how far behind you are on it, and you're like, hey, you know what, never mind. The other thing as well is like, man, what if you miss one of these weeks? Because the way that these work is that you earn half sparks. So I wouldn't normally think this would be a big problem, because if it was just a big power spike, you just obviously wouldn't miss it, right? Because you would just do it on Tuesday or Wednesday if you're in EU, and you would get your spark, and you'd be like, all right, I got my spark, I'm powering up. But if it's one of those weeks where you're getting an off spark, there's no immediate power gain there, right? What if you like? There's gonna be some people that forget to either do or forget to turn in that quest for that week because there's no big reward for doing it right away. Now, am I going to look for and or create a weak aura that like air horns me if I have done this on any of my characters? Oh yeah, that seems like a big thing that will be good with the system. But like, do we really want to punish people that aren't willing to do that? Like, because if you miss 1 week of this, like, that's half a 447 item down the drain. Never getting that back. That seems horrifying to me. So the Sparks of Shadowflame, I think, really is hurting for a system to make it feel less prohibitive to roll up an alt later down the line, and less punishing to miss a week. And those are, I think, pretty big issues with the current system. My guess, from like thinking through how this is going to play out, my current guess is this is something they'll fix in like 2 months' time, because that's when like the most people will start running into this problem of like, I want to play an alt, the game system makes me feel bad for doing it, I'm gonna complain about it, and Blizzard's usually a couple months late to fix those problems, but they've kind of pulled that back to being only like a month late to fix those problems in recent times. But I still think I think that's what would happen if this goes unattended. But I do think that there's a chance that if this gets flagged to their attention now, maybe it's something they would consider, building in a safety valve for it. I'm not sure exactly what the best solution to this is. Maybe just some sort of repeatable quest that you can do to just keep on grinding these sparks until you're caught up to the amount that you could be at had you been playing all along. Like, I think that would be fair if it was like a repeatable quest that you could do by killing rares in the Zeralek Cavern, or doing dungeons, or doing raid, and it would just fill up another bar, and you could turn it in and get a spark. Again, is there a chance that there's something like this in the patch? I guess yes, but when I talked about this on stream, there were a lot of people that were like, "Oh, you don't know that there's no catch up," but I'm pretty sure they would have said if there was something. I'm pretty sure that in the interviews and stuff where they talked about these things, they would have explained that functionality if it existed. So I'm reasonably confident that there's not anything like that right now, and I think it would be really big and really good for the longevity of the patch. And for the desirability of playing alts, and for the experience of the first few weeks. Like, one of the things about the first few weeks that I love about some patches is that you can just play your main character and, not feel bad about it. And then there's some patches where it's like, ooh, really should make sure that I'm doing this content on my alt so that it's ready further down the line. And that is, I think, a big bummer if this patch ends up being marred by that sort of experience. So that is my little soapbox video about Sparks of Shadowflame. The takeaway here, if you're a player, is that if there is an alt that you're going to care about in the future, try to do the Shadowflame grinding on it early, because those sparks are going to be huge, right? Like, spark crafted gear is unbelievably powerful especially for alts. So doing that grinding well in advance of when you actually want to play that character is absolutely going to be worth your time if that's an alt that you're going to care about having that high item level gear on. Of course, if you're playing an alt for world content, for professions, for that kind of, for messing around, that kind of stuff, not something you need to worry about. But if you're looking to be doing like keys or raid or something on an alt, this is definitely going to be a play pattern that this system encourages, which I hope they change. But if they don't, be ready for it and make whatever decision's going to optimize your fun despite it being there. Anyways, hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention before this video is over is that this is actually a difference from 10.0 as well. So if you're replying already, if you're down there typing, you're like, it was fine last time. Well, last time there was Catchup. Last time you could do Spark Quest 1, Spark Quest 2, and Spark Quest 3 or whatever if you came in or started playing an alt later in the patch. And especially if you came in after the 5 sparks had already come out, you could just get all 5 instantly on your alt. And so there was that huge degree of catch up. So if you're thinking, Dranos, what are you worrying about? This is the same as last time. It's not the same as last time. This time is different. So, all right, now for realsies, without further ado, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.